Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. In Romania, there is a saying going like this: Pe omul cinstit nu supără adevărul. The translation would be, the honest person is not bothered by the truth. So if you're an honest person, you're not bothered if the truth is told, or the obvious truth, unless you're dishonest. And when you're dishonest and the truth is told, you're afraid that your scheme will be brought into light. Now, I have here one article, and I would like to, I don't want you to connect any dots, remember, but I will tell the truth, and I will name names, and I will point out to certain things, and it's not my fault that it is like that. There are no interpretation. I will make no interpretation. I will just give you the truth, and I will ask questions. I know that in the United States of America, the freest country in the world, no question is a bad question. We teach our children here. That is, ask questions, regardless how, I don't know, crazy that might seem. All right, let's start with the article coming from the Ukrainska Pravda. Ukrainska Pravda, it is from Friday the 29th of August 2025. Head of Ukrainian, from Ukraine, President's Office, Mr. Yermak, shares details of the talks with Trump's envoy, which is United States' envoy, Witkoff, in New York. So we have truth. We have a Jew, Yermak, discussing with another Jew the details of two countries, none of them being Israel. I didn't imply anything. Everything I said is true. And they are over there for the picture. They don't care, and why would they care? So this guy represents the Ukrainian nation. He's Jew. The other guy represents the American nation. He's Jew. All right? And they discuss a war between the people he represents, which are the Ukrainians, and this guy discuss something about the Russians, who incidentally, Lavrov is no Jew. Peskov, no. Zakharova, no. How could this guy survive without these people? That's a question. That's a question. I did not put these guys together in an office. They put themselves. This was appointed by an elected one. Zelensky is also Jew. I mean, these are facts. Now, what you do with the facts and how you interpret the facts, that's a different story. I will not do that. I will just ask questions. As an Ukrainian, are you okay with that? I mean, you might be, but I know some that are not. That's a fact. I know people, Ukrainians, that are very upset that Yermak or Zelensky or Zhmyhal are in charge of Ukraine. That's a fact. I know them personally. Now, it doesn't mean they're the majority or the minority. I didn't conduct a poll of opinion. On the other hand, you have Mr. Witkoff. Mr. Witkoff is the representative for the United States of America in the Middle East. None of the two countries, Ukraine or Russia, are located in the Middle East. What is that guy doing over there? Why is not Marco Rubio involved? Why this Middle East guy? Now, why is not this Witkoff an Iranian? Why is he not an Iranian guy appointed by Donald Trump to represent the United States of America's interests, discussing with Israel in the Middle East, with Iran, with all those guys over there? Remember, one of these guys was Mr. Kushner. Kushner is the son-in-law of the president. When Donald Trump was the president the first term, he appointed Kushner as an envoy to the Middle East. He is also a Jew. That's a fact. Everything I said, it's a fact. I don't think that stating facts could be categorized as hateful or anti or this. I'm just telling you things and asking questions. I don't interpret anything. I will try not to anyway. I might fail, but I'll try. So Kushner is a Jew who had no prior experience in foreign policy. He built buildings in New York, and not only. That's his. You look at his education, he was just appointed to represent us, supposedly in the Middle East and so on. His father, if I remember correctly, Mr. Charles Kushner, is the US ambassador appointed to France in Paris and told the French nation that they are kind of like anti, you know what I mean? This is facts. I didn't interpret anything. You can verify these things. Now, the fact that I make statements and bring facts, they are very uncomfortable with certain people, I think. Why is that? Otherwise, I would be left alone. But I'm not left alone. I'm accused of this, I'm accused of that. Now, I don't care. I'm just sharing it with you. If you are honest, the truth should not bother you. Everything I said so far is true. Now, let me give you something else. Imagine Putin, the president of the Russian Federation. He has to meet an American envoy, and he's a Jew. Nothing wrong with that, is it? The question, is it? No, obviously not. So he meets a guy who Putin kicked out, it's a fact, by 2006. He took control of certain things that some people had over his country. Therefore, you don't see any in his entourage at this moment. And you send this guy represent, this is a fact. Yes, it's America sent this guy to talk to Putin. And Putin is supposed to talk to Yermak and the other guys over there. Remember, you have Mr. Blinken before Mr. Rubio. He was a Jew. He was the foreign minister, Secretary of State of the United States of America. A fact. And he came again and spoke with Putin. And not only Putin, he dealt with the diplomacy for us in our name. Now I have a question for you. And it's based on facts. The Jews in America, I think they're about almost 3%. That's a fact. Is there anything wrong with that? No, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. How many, I don't know, Latinos, except let's say you take out now, what's his name? Let's say Mexicans. Or should I go to Latinos? Let's go 23%. Or blacks, let's put blacks. African Americans, how you want to call them. They are 12%. So they're about what? 4 times the other group. That's a fact, 3 multiplied by 4 is 12. Fact. Tell me how many blacks are envoys or in Trump's administration with foreign policy. You tell me. How many were before? I can't remember one. Why? Why is that? Well, you find Witkoff, you find Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce. You had Yellen, the Secretary of Treasury before. You had Blinken, Secretary of State. You had, what's his name, Stephen Miller, advisor, and many more that we don't know. Again, that's an assumption, but I'm pretty sure you can find that information. And we have these guys, but how many blacks we got over there? I'm just pick the blacks. I can pick the Latinos, and aside from what's his name, Rubio, you don't have any. Or let's say, how many Romanians do you have? I think 0 Romanians. Now the question is, why? I'm not going to give you the answer because that's an interpretation and that's a conclusion. That's an opinion. It's not an assessment. It's an opinion. But why not Romanians? Are Romanians stupider than, let's say, the Jews? You can't say that. Why? Because if you say that, you can be accused of certain kind of things. All right? So how come these guys are really, as a fact, I think, overrepresented in the government compared with the Romanians? Or let's say Latinos, Mexicans, Guatemalans, whatever you want to call, whatever. Why is that? Can you tell me? You cannot tell me that they are more capable. You cannot. Because we know in America that all the groups are equal. You know, in everything, including the IQ. We are, even the IQ. IQ are racist, you know what I mean? But the US military, I think, still uses the IQ to accept future fighters, if you know what I mean. My point is this. Why don't we have, I don't know, a Ukrainian here? Ukrainian meaning a guy that is genetically Ukrainian, I'm talking about. And if you say, whoa, 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 you're talking about race here. You talk about ethnicity. And this is a religion. Is it? Do you think it is? Well, let me tell you this. I know for a fact, that some people did their DNA test for Ancestry, for other sites online. And some of them came with the ancestry Jewish. Now, if that's a religion, I don't think religion shows on a DNA. Because I didn't see over there with these guys Catholic, or, I don't know, Protestant, or Zen Buddhist, or, I don't know, Tao, or, I don't know, whatever else you want, or Muslim. But that, you saw that. And I'm going to give you another example. I think in Encyclopedia Britannica, if you look at Trotsky or Karl Marx, both Jews, they were atheists. But they are considered Jews. Why are you considered Jews if they didn't practice and they didn't consider themselves any? You see, there's many things that are over there. These are fact. Everything I said is a fact. You don't like the fact being brought here? Well, that means you're not honest. My point is, why don't you have as I said, right here and right here. These guys discuss two countries' destiny with the Ukrainians, the Americans. Oh, he's American. Yeah, okay. All right. And the other ones are the Russians. 2 out of 3 are in the room. There was a question. Why? How come? I will mention one book for you to look into if you want. And I have many others to provide you with, but I will stop with this book and I will give you something that someone said at one point. I can't really, it was Dr. William, and I sometimes mention here. The book here is The Culture of Critique. I want you to look into that. I know it's a bad book because the people don't like the truth, but this is, I had Mr. Kevin McDonald on my show, I don't know, maybe almost a year ago or so, and he wrote many books regarding certain issues, on anthropology, I think it is, and so on. I want you to look into that book. Maybe that would help you. And the other one is this. The big mistake for these guys right here that you see right here, the big mistake is, and I'm going to go to Dr. William, is this. At one point, some people like to work in the shadows, behind the scenes. But they think they're smart, and they smart everybody else. They outsmart everybody else because they are different a little bit. That's what they think. And then when they succeed in maneuvering and controlling the leadership of populations, they cannot help themselves to show up, to apply the chutzpah. Their ego does not allow them to continue to stay in the background and pull the strings. They show up and show off. And when they show up and they show off, people see them. And when people see them, some of them make connections that you should not make. And then they get kicked out of the countries. People start hating them because they say, how come? How come? And that started a long time ago with the kings getting loans from the certain people that were allowed to use usury. And they say, why? Because at one point, people saw who's in control of the king. You owe me money, man. And then the king sometimes said, yeah, get him. And they got him. That was awful. That was awful. But the point is, their self-destruction, according to Dr. William, is in every time they showed off. Instead of staying over there and being happy they can control this and that and not be in the front row. Now they are. And people see that. People see it. And with time, there will be some bad dudes that would point that out, like me. And they have to be more humble. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.